You kick a lot of guys in the balls in this movie, which is amazing.
Have you ever done a scene where you get kicked in the balls?
Not on purpose.
I heard that you cried the first time that you set someone on fire doing that flamethrower sequence, which is incredible. By the way, I was wondering if you could kind of talk about that a little bit, because I never really thought about the emotional toll that some of the action takes on you just as like a person.
Yeah, I think it's, you know, for the most part, the training is more focused on the fights, you know, the physical fights and the choreos and knives and guns and all that. But I never got to practice with a flamethrower, and I definitely had fire. It's a scary thing. And I remember they asked me to rehearse the day before filming, and I was like, no, that's not necessary. I'll just do it on the day. And they were like, no, you really need to just feel it and the heat on your face and everything, how it moves. And I did it, and I knew I was with the best people in the business, like just doing fire. But still, when I shot this guy and he got on fire, I had to like drop it, and I walked away, and I had to unzip my thing and just cry. It was really emotional. It's just a visual, horrible thing to, you know, it's in my brain forever, you know, but everyone was safe, and I knew that, and you know, I got comfortable with it afterwards, and then I burned 105 people after.
I was also watching Ride in the Keanu Reeves episode. Weirdly enough, you guys, there's like blowtorches. I don't know if you used them, but
I've done a lot of crazy stuff on that show. That's not the scariest thing I've ever played with. The scariest thing is, you know, the giant saw blade that's on a handle, and they use it like sort of like the jaws of death to cut cars open.
Cars open, yeah.
They let me play with that.
Why?
I have no idea, but the AMC let me play with that. But that you twist that the wrong way, it goes bang and bounces like it's the scary
one.
The real one. Yeah, I've done a lot of crazy stuff. Yeah, on that show.
if we're gonna assume that John Wick is alive after Chapter 4, how
Well, I think you've always got to assume he's alive.
yes.
Yeah.
So how do you think Winston would react to finding out the news that John Wick is alive? Do you think he would feel a little bit betrayed that his friend faked his own death, or do you think he would just be
No, I think he knows. I mean, don't forget the last shot you saw was me putting my hand on the coffin and saying, you know, "Das Vidanya, Moise." And why does Winston speak in Russian? And why do you see a hint of a tattoo up his hand? Who knows what he is? I mean, that's what's great about the show. There's unanswered questions, which they don't answer in every episode. They leave you a few breadcrumbs, you know, to think you know an answer, but you don't. That's what the best stories do. They reveal. I'm just glad that in this one, they brought back Anna first. And who knows? I mean, if there is a John Wick 5, which will be entirely up to Keanu. If Keanu wants to do it, he'll do it. There'll be a 5. Otherwise, there may be another continuing thing with Anna. Who knows? They may go off in a different direction. But this is a worthy addition to the John Wick genre. There'll be questions like, did they bring in Keanu too late in the movie? Did they bring him early or whatever? But it's like saying, this is an addition to the franchise which may bring a bigger female audience into it too, which it has in a different sense, but this will be a different kind of audience bringing to it because of who she is, Anna.
You want to win? Improvise. Adapt. Cheat.
You kick a lot of guys in the balls in this movie, which is amazing. I was waiting for you to do it to John Wick, though. Was that ever an option? Was that on the table?
You know, there's so much mutual respect between those two characters. I think they get in a fight because kind of like they're put in that situation, but they don't really want to.
Yeah.
For different reasons.
Most vulnerable spot.
Not you, though. Was that ever an option on the table?
For him to kick somebody in the balls?
No, for you to get kicked in the
kidding.
balls.
God, I hope not. No, I don't believe it
Would you have been down?
To get kicked in the balls?
Have you ever done a scene where you get kicked in the balls?
Not on purpose.
Anytime an actor does any of their own stunts or action, everyone is immediately like comparing them to Tom Cruise. And I'm just curious, is that annoying?
No, not at all.
No.
I mean, it's amazing. It's a huge compliment if they do. I don't think anyone can do anything that, you know, the way Tom Cruise does it. He's an inspiration for everyone to doing action. You know, I feel like I'm better, you know, compared to my other action films, but not close enough.
Welcome to the Continental.
Eve Macaro of the Roscaroma. What a pleasure to see you again.
I've been thinking about him a lot today, yeah, because usually we'd be doing it together, you know?
Yeah.
The last time we did this, I remember in LA and we did the Kelly Clarkson show, and then we were going off to Europe the next day. I was going to, because we had the world premiere in London, he was going off somewhere else, and I said, I'll see you back in LA. I never saw him again. It's like life is, fleeting, so be safe, yeah?
Yeah, when you think about your time working with him.
Oh, no, we had a whole thing worked out from the beginning when we first, for the first show, when we talked about it, and I always felt, and I think that they'd both been government employees. He actually working from Africa maybe for the CIA, and I was working for MI5, and they'd known each other for 30 years. And then when obviously government work comes to an end, you go into the private business. I never saw them as the product of whatever. I think they did a TV show about the prequel about our characters, but they didn't. No, it wasn't very. I never saw it because I didn't agree with the premise of it. Because the premise was much more interesting than that. I thought there were two people because they're far too sophisticated. They weren't criminals. But where do you put your expertise, which has been involved in spying and nefarious attitudes, when you leave government service? You take it to the private business. And so that was always behind our thoughts of the characters. And whereas Lance wanted to get involved with the action, which he did in the number 3. And they always said to me, I said, no, I don't want to do any fighting. Thank you very much. No. Winston's a lover, not a fighter. Thank you very much.
The one they call the Baba Yaga. How do I start doing what you do?
Looks like you already have.